Now we're going to do another kind of like competition. I want you two to stand with your backs to each other right here in the center, okay?
Okay.
So stand with your backs to each other. And I have a wedge here, okay? And I'm going to take this wedge right here, and I'm going to squeeze this between the two of you. So put it between the two of you. And you're going to try to push and keep me from pushing the wedge to make you two go apart. So you're going to push yourselves together, and I'm going to push you apart. And I can get the wedge between you, and I'll stop doing that because I don't want to damage you. But there we go. So I can push you apart, and you can't stop.
Can't stop.
And here's why. When the wedge goes in, it's pushing you apart a small distance, but the wedge goes in kind of a big distance.
Oh,
And so it's a big distance, small force. So I'm pushing with a small force, but for you, you're going apart a small distance,
big force.
big force. And this is even more, if I can use that word, wedge-tacular, because this one right here is skinny.
Mm-hmm.
So if I push it all the way in from here to here, it only goes apart by this much. So I move this much distance, you move this much distance. So I have a big distance, small force. And for you folks,
Little distance,
big force. So put your backs against each other again, and I'm going to push this wedge in between you. And with this one, it's like,
Wow.
oh yeah, there's nothing you can do. Go ahead and try it. There it goes. There you go. And you can drive things apart using a wedge. And it's that force and distance kind of like relationship, but applied in a slightly different way. Well, mostly on this segment, we were talking about levers. And you might be wondering, who was the first person to bring up this idea of the lever? Who came up with the lever? Well, that is something I'm going to talk about next. This is something which people have known about since antiquity. And who was the person to come up with the idea, the first person to describe it in some detail? We'll see that. Then we'll come back in the studio, and we'll do another round of experiments. Archimedes of Syracuse, a Greek scientist who lived 1800 years ago, was a tireless explainer and inventor, responsible for explaining buoyancy, developing the principle of the screw, carefully estimating the value of pi, and explaining the concept of the lever. "Give me a lever long enough and a place to stand, and I shall move the world," he has often quoted. A bit of an exaggeration, but a memorable way to capture the key idea of the lever.